Good morning, and that was Welcome to My Church, the National Anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance for Kids. I found that on YouTube. Gosh, you find all kinds of things on YouTube. And speaking of finding things, I found a gentleman by the name of Dan Pelly, an inspirational speaker, and he is the suicide warrior. Welcome, Dan. How the heck are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Paul. How are you?
I,
Great to be on with you, and I'm glad we talked yesterday. It's a great conversation.
Well, I knew yesterday that it was going to be special because number one, being the Dago man you are, and being and I'm sure people just shit their britches when I said that, but I don't care. This
Right.
man is a man that is amazing. He's wearing a shirt. If you are watching this on YouTube, he's got his warrior shirt on, and he certainly, most certainly, is a warrior, and that is a fact, man. So I found Dan through a posting we did for guests, looking for people to talk about suicide and prevention and things like that. And Dan, I got to tell you, I watched a couple of your videos today on YouTube, and just look up Dan Pelly or at Dan Pelly Inspirational Speaker 6168 on YouTube, and you'll find this man. But we're going to talk to him right now. Dude, what is your gig?
Well, currently, I'm still in my real estate business for over 30 something years now, and I've been going public since 2016 with my experiences, and made my first video, and here I am today.
Yeah, and your videos are doing really good. You're reaching a lot of people, aren't you?
Well, like we talked, if we can change one person's mind to choose a life, then we've done a lot in this world.
Right, right. Well, we spoke yesterday, and I try to keep those conversations as minimal as possible, but we actually talked a long time.
We
So
did.
we're gonna have to
We
repeat
connected.
ourselves. So Dan is not only a warrior for suicide prevention. Dan is a two-time two-time suicide survivor, and I'd like to talk, and I know you will talk about it because you will share anything. I've seen that. The first attempt was roughly around 1996, wasn't it?
Yes,
What was going on?
yes.
What was
And
going on then?
I was living a good life. I come from a blue collar family, Italian, and
No.
grew up semi poor. My mother and father, were born here, but we're from Naples. The origin is Naples, Napoletans, and we grew up semi poor. My dad was doing construction work. My mom was waitressing. Just trying to survive with four kids, and living in a very small apartment. We grew up in Allston, Massachusetts, right across the river from Harvard. I'm from Boston, from
Harvard.
Harvard Stadium. So I used to look at the Harvard Stadium as a kid, and I grew up there till I was 12 years old. And me and my friends used to, hang out at the Harvard Stadium for vines. And when the Patriots played there in the early 70s, we used to climb the vines, and they just throw us out, or we get in and have a seat. So a lot of good times as a kid, doing things, running carnivals in garages. I was very doing things and setting things up all the time. So that turned into, as I was working, I mean, as a kid, and then we moved out of that area, about 5 miles from Boston. And, as I was growing up, good childhood, I had my troubles like any other kid. I got in trouble and did things and fights and all that. And it was all happening with, the Irish guys that I was fighting with, and we became friends and all these things happening. But in the early 70s, they did the busing, and we had everything from like everybody from blacks to Chinese, and everybody was coming into the high school, and we got along fairly well. I think the news was reporting all the mayhem more than actually what was going on in the school, and we got along. We had our fights, but it was the old days, and we didn't pull guns or anything like that,
Right.
knives.
You
We
actually,
had
you
our
actually, you actually manned up and
Yeah.
fisted up, and
Yeah,
yeah,
we were men,
yeah.
young men, and we didn't hold it against each other, and we became friends, a lot of us. So anyway, getting out of high school was my thing. I was doing a mechanic co-op course. I had a 1966 Chevelle 396 block. I rebuilt it. doing mechanics, doing all that, got out of high school, work, getting into my life, my childhood sweetheart. I have a biological son, Dan Jr., love him dearly. And, we had a child, we moved to California, boom, just a short version of my life real quick. I'm actually in the middle of writing my biography. I'm writing my book, and I'm doing about 12 or 14 chapters. I'm about halfway through to help people choose life and where I came from, where I went with this, and where I am now that you can survive. So I did that. And then we moved to California for 3 years. I was in Huntington Beach, California, and we enjoyed it back because we missed family, got divorced, started driving truck. And I was driving truck a little bit before I left tractor trailer. And driving for almost 8 years in Wonder Bread, TJ Maxx. I was hauling from California to Chicago, brass shavings to brass rod. That looked like I was carrying gold when it was finished rod and the flatbed. But I was doing all this, and then the divorce came, and I was driving pretty heavy, and I got about 5 hours sleep in '84. I was hauling for TJ Maxx in Cincinnati. I was running all
Right.
the TJ Maxx
Right. Yeah,
stores
we
where
talked
you're
about
from.
that. Yeah.
I was going to all the stores and everything. So one night it was 3 in the morning. I slept for 5 hours. Thought I got enough sleep. I'm lucky I didn't take my son with me. I'm blessed that I didn't take him with me. And then we got into driving again. I got back on the road. I fell asleep at the wheel, and I hit a bridge abutment. I ripped up 100 yards of guardrail, and I hit a bridge abutment at 70 miles an hour, which I showed you that picture. It was a tomato can.
Yeah,
How I
I'm
survived,
gonna
I
put
don't
that
know.
picture in this video. Yeah.
Yeah, how I survived, I don't know. But anyway, I knew I woke up at the last second, and I was working out at the time. I was doing some security at Foxborough with a guy. I was working out in the gym, Paul McCartney concerts, all that. I was all bulked up. I was pretty strong at the time, and everything going on. And right before I hit the bridge, I woke up and I said, "Oh shit, I'm into it." And the thing was split second. See my whole life go by me. I got the wheel and I saw the bridge abutment. It was about as big as anything, and it was huge. And I saw it, and my whole life flashed by me. I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. I turned the wheel as hard as I could, and really turned it and ducked and hit the bridge. You know, you know, hit that bridge above. So anyway, I guess two cops are at the coffee shop, of course, about a mile and a half away, and heard the impact. And they looked at each other, going, it was in Wadsworth, Ohio, by the way.
Right.
So they hear the impact. They look at each other. Oh shit, what was that? They get a call. They come up. They're looking around the truck. They're looking in the truck. There's no blood. The sleep is totally crushed. Everything's crushed. About 3 feet of space in the driver. He goes, his partner, he goes, he's not in here. He goes, where the hell is he? He goes, no blood, so I don't think he got thrown into the sleeper. He goes, shine your light up the road. 3 a.m. There's not much going on. Big highways up there too, as you know, in
Right.
Ohio.
Right.
And he shoots the light up the road. I'm about 25, 30 feet up the road, holding my head, turning in the breakdown lane, bleeding like a sieve.
Oh my
Because
God.
I got 50 stitches in my head. He looked at his partner. He goes, I can't believe this guy's alive.
Right. Right.
He goes, because when you see the truck, you'll know why. But anyway, he come up to me, he grabbed me, hold on to me, was kind of staggering and stuff, but I was standing at 5 broken ribs. I mean, I got out really lucky. I got 5 broken ribs, 50 stitches in my head. My left side was all chicken skin, like it pulled
Right.
skin off. I think I went flying out the window. That's what I think,
Yeah.
because I felt your legs. You think your legs. I went flying out the window. I think it hit the pavement and maybe stood back up again.
Yeah.
So it just like really propelled me up. So he's like, anybody in the truck? I'm like mumbling my son's name, DJ. He's like, anybody in the truck? He's shaking me. Anybody in the truck? I'm like, dude, stop shaking me. And it's like
Right.
I'm all dazed and confused. He goes, okay, the ambulance is coming. And they brought me near the truck, which I don't know why. It looked like a horror show. But I got near the truck and I looked up, and it was the end of my career. I never drove again because I just was done with it.
Right.
And I saw the truck. I started going into shock, and I could feel myself going under. I'm going to pass out. Oh, he's going into shock. They throw me on the gurney. It's a mess. There's fuel everywhere. There's boxes everywhere. The thing's totally collapsed. Get me on the stretcher. Bring me to the hospital. got me sitting up for 5 days. You know, I wasn't in any kind of critical condition, but I was pretty banged up. I mean,
Right.
I was black and blue all over, and I was just my whole body was ravaged with bruises. But spent 5 days in the IC, in the hospital. Truckers were coming in to say hi to me. Of course, I went with the Italian stallion as a handle
Right.
because
Right.
I'm
Right. Right.
Italian.
Right.
So
Right.
they all, some guys knew me, so they were coming in and, oh man, if we saw that truck dude, geez, we just had to come in and see you, say hi. Strangers were coming in to say hi to me.
Right.
So the Wadsworth paper, Ohio, and this was back in '84, but they had it on the front page, that picture
Right.
saying end of the road, it said end of the road for Watertown Mass truck driver.
Wow.
So I never drove again.
Yeah.
So long story short, at this point, he wants me to take the bus back. I'm like, a bus? I got 5 broken ribs. What are you, crazy? I
Jesus.
said, I want to sue you. So he gets me an an airplane ticket, bring me in a wheelchair. First truck I see coming at me in the ambulance, I start shaking
Right.
because of the post-traumatic from it. I get on the plane. I'm getting off the wheelchair. I'm all wrapped up like a vet. I'm all banged out. And the guy sitting in first class, he goes, what the hell happened to you? I said, oh, I fell asleep in my tractor trailer. I hit a bridge. He's like, oh, geez, take my seat.
Right.
Gives me his first class seat, the first seat in.
That's awesome.
He goes, I'll take you third class in the back. I said, oh, geez, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it. I sit down. I'm on Percocet. I'm all banged up. I sit down. There's a blonde. This is a great story to hear before we start talking about the heavy stuff of suicide. The blonde, a blonde is sitting there, and she's looking out the window.
Yeah.
She turns around, and it's Barbara Eden from I Dream of Jeannie.
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, Barbara, and she's like, "What happened to
What
you?"
the hell happened to
And
you?
I'm
She
like,
couldn't blink that one away, could she?
I'm telling you. And I looked at her. She was like in her 40s, maybe. I was like 26. She was in her 40s,
Yeah, she's hot
and
now in her casket. She's still hot.
but she's still alive in '80s and '90s, like '80s. She's still hot, right?
Yeah,
In the
right,
late
right,
'80s.
right.
Anyway, she starts talking to me. I go to her. Where's your bottle? I need to make a wish. She goes, I left it in cargo because everybody keeps asking me to make a wish.
Right, right.
So we talked the whole way. My brother couldn't believe I met her. He didn't believe me. My girlfriend at the time, my second wife that I married, she was there, and my brother's like, "Hey, dude, I met Barbara Eden. She's coming out of the plane. She's going to say hi to both of you." He goes, "Get
Right.
out of here."
That's awesome,
They
man.
don't believe. So she comes out. I'm like, "Hi, Barbara," like she was my best friend. She
Right.
comes over. Hi, hi, hi. Boom, boom. We do it. So that's the end of my trucking career. So anyway, my buddy's in real estate, and my brother at the time was doing an Elvis Presley show. He's an Elvis Presley impersonator, and he started in '79,
Oh,
and he was
whop
kind of
Elvis.
yeah. So he's cool because he played Elvis in the house. I was more into Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and all that.
Right,
But,
right.
Elvis was Elvis, and I wasn't a big fan at the time. He's doing Elvis in '79. He starts doing an outdoor show. I start helping him and manage him. We go pro by 1981, '82. He goes professional, top 40 oldies, building it up. We
Right.
just ended that career after 35 years in 2014. And we've had major crowds, great early '70s Elvis in shape, as you see the Elvis movie, the early '70s when he was in shape. And my brother could sing well and all that. Limousine entrance, 2001 Space Odyssey, the whole thing. So we had a great Elvis show going. I got into real estate at the same time. I got to do something. So I did both. I did the real estate, I managed the band. So we had a lot of fun with it. Did top 40 oldies, couple Elvis shows a night, put on the wig, the suit, looked great. And, we got a following. So I'm doing the real estate. As I'm doing the real estate, I get married in '85 and married for about 10, 11 years. I buy a house. I open my own business. Early '90s, I become a broker. I got it all going on. I got people working for me. Living the dream, man.
Right, right.
And never suffered any depression. Maybe one of my uncles had a little depression,
That's one
a
thing
little
that
more.
that's one thing
Yeah.
that I noticed in your the one video that I looked at. You point out that basically you were just a dude. You're just a regular dude that's got life by the balls. You got the tiger by the tail, and you're swinging and just having a blast, living a great life. And you mentioned you never dealt with depression. You didn't even. I think there's a. I took notes on the video. You know that, and I'll share some of these with you. Some of the things that stuck out to me that you share that is so true. But the one thing that you got to understand, if you're not listening to, if you don't watch the video, you won't know what I'm talking about here. This is a man. This is a man. A man. You are truly the epitome of an Italian man, strong figure, and that's why I'm not being. I don't want to be insulting.
No, I get it.
You truly have the characteristics of that. The word on your shirt, and unless you put the word suicide on top of that, if you saw Dan, all you would think is he's saying, "I'm going to kick your ass." But what he is saying is, I'm going to kick
MMA fighter.
I'm going to kick depression's ass. I'm going to kick suicide's ass, and that's what that's the thing about you that I just really enjoyed you hearing, because so often, Dan, wouldn't you agree, people don't even pay attention to mental health till it drops on their ass.
Exactly.
Till it's in their house.
And I'm glad you brought up the manhood thing. Of course, I was brought up very tough. My father was very tough. You know, we had some physicalness in the family, you know, all of that going on, the hitting and the backhanded, and, you know, keeping you in line and things like that. Some of it was good. Some of it, of course.
Right, sure. We're about the same age.
You know, the balance, right? So grew up very tough, a lot of fights in the street, all this stuff going on. And this is when you brought up the manhood. This is the problem, 80% of with the men not wanting to reach out because they think it's weak. They think it's weak. They think it's, you know, sissy-like, or you're going to kill yourself, or you're a chicken, and all these things. But when you look at me, you know, no one would know that I tried to commit suicide unless I tell them.
Right.
And they look at me when I start telling them, like, you don't look like a type of guy that would do that. I said, well, what type of guy would do? I mean, what does a guy look like that's going to kill himself?
Yeah. Does he look like? Does he look like Robin Williams? Does he look like? You know, go down the list.
Like Woody Allen. Like, you know, Woody Allen. You know, Woody Allen, is he more of a cream puff type of looking guy?
Right.
You know, I ain't saying nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I got a lot of friends that are different looking than me, so it's not that what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, even men like that.
Right.
They get the stigma too, the Woody Allens and the Robert Williams. And I mean, he didn't kill himself, Woody Allen, but, you know, Robert Williams did.
Right.
Oh, the funniest guy on the planet. But all this silent suffering, all this secrecy and suffering and silence. Although we knew about his alcoholism and he was struggling.
Well, and he was struggling with. That's a very tricky. Using Robin Williams as an example may not be the best, because he was sick. His brain was, if I got this correct, it was Parkinson's that he had. In his mind, I could see, not that there is a reason, but you can go. I've got a dear friend. I've got a dear friend that his partner had Parkinson's, and he ended his life of his own accord because he did not want his family to continue to have to go through. So that's probably a topic on another conversation. Straight out suicide due to depression, things like that, like what you were dealing with, and not, because people don't. I call it the abyss. I am in the abyss. It is a hell that if you've never walked it, you don't know what that feels like. And so clinical depression is mental illness. Is powerful. Situational depression. That's one thing I want to ask you. Were you in situational depression? Had it all ever gone to clinical depression, or what is? Because people don't understand, there is a fine line. There is a difference between a clinically depressed brain, which I have suffered from since I was 11, and a situational mental health depression.
Yes. Well, you know, you bring up a good point. As you've been suffering since you were 11. You brought up, you know, some of your own attempts and what's happening with you, and we really connected because we're similar like this. You know, as far as being at that, I tell people it's being at that moment.
Actually, I think we were on the same timeline. I think it was like 1996.
I think so. And
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to get to that moment because that moment is wretched. It's horrifying. It's scary. It's the most debilitating part of that moment of life that when I was, I'll get into that, of just desolation, of just the mind is chemically changed and everything happened. But when you talk situational, yes, well, now when the marriage went on and things weren't working out after about 11 years, both parties, were both, involved. So it takes two, probably me, more tougher, more assertive, more controlling, that type of thing. I take responsibility for it. I even told her that. I said, you did the right thing, back then, back in 96.
Yeah.
So anyway, she left the house and I really started getting depressed because I loved her and she was gone and she wouldn't come back. And I'm like, we had a great relationship and it didn't work out. So as I'm trying to function and do my real estate office, when you talk situational, I can't function as well anymore.
Right. Now your business goes down the shithole.
I'm starting to lose this. I talked to my brother in Florida. I said, man, I'm depressed. I can't even run this place anymore. He goes, maybe you got to close and, do something. He said, maybe come down here. It works for me. Do something. So, but I never recommend doing three big things at once
Mm.
because we sold she sold, we sold the house, which was, the worst part of it is the love. The love is the heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get that heartbreak, that's what the worst part of it is. Then you sell the house, then you close a business, and then you pack up your car and throw your accordion away. I used to play when I was young, and everything with the baby in the bathwater. You don't want nothing to be remembered. And you get in the car and you drive. That's three major things,
Right.
which I don't recommend for anybody.
Right.
So I get there, I settle in. I'm going to do detailing now. I'm getting out of my suit. I used to be mechanic, so I didn't mind working hard. My brother's selling cars, he's detailing cars, and he was a supporting system for me.
Right.
But he didn't understand suicide either or getting on medication. So as 96 was, going in the beginning, when I got there, and the situational is what got me depressed, all of a sudden I'm getting worse.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get clinical. Now it's turning into clinical where I don't want to get out of bed.
Right.
Now I don't want to leave the bed.
Right.
And I want to stay in the bed and think about her and think about my losses and cry and whine and all of it because we just can't pull ourselves out of it. We are depressed and we're clinically depressed. So that creeped in more and more. The one saving grace with my brother Mike was he's older than me, tougher too. He's older, 5 years, brought up differently because of the 5 year gap. But he'd get up every morning at 6 o'clock. He's ready to head out to detail. And I told him I'm not going to work. And he looked at me. I thought it was like a cowboy movie. He's standing at the corner of the doorway. He goes, look at Dan. He says, we called him Monk. It was a nickname Monk because he climbed trees. It was Monk Pelly was the Elvis show. If anybody wants to look it up, it's Monk Pelly. But he's standing there and he goes, look at it. I know you're hurting about the broad and all this stuff's going on. He said, but you got to come to work with me. And I'm like, why? Why?
Right.
Looks at me with a John Wayne look. He goes, because you got to keep moving.
Right.
You got to keep moving. And that was the saving grace. And I have a video about keep moving. So keep moving, I would recommend to anybody. And I'm going to talk about a short list as we go down the road here with this conversation and what helped me. But that keep moving kept me working every day. Then I go home, eat dinner, and I go into bed and hurt all night.
Right.
And this went on for months.
Right.
Now the suicide ideation came into my life. I started thinking about it's over.
Right.
That's how we think. We think it's all over.
Right.
We lost everything. We got no comeback. 39 years old. I never even thought about suicide.
Well, then also you're thinking, hey, you probably did you have the thoughts of, here's your brother, now he won't have to watch me go through this shit, and, my kids family won't have to, I mean, that's what like people don't, that's exactly it, here's one thing that you said that is just freaking, this is a t-shirt, buddy, and I know you're a t-shirt guy. And you may even already have it. Depression is a effing liar. It's a liar.
Oh, yeah.
It lies about everything. It lies to you constantly. It will convince your ass of shit that is not real. That is not
you're no
real.
good. you might as well go kill yourself.
Right.
You're
Exactly.
worth you're worthless.
Yeah.
You lost everything. You
Yeah.
can't keep a girl. You did this, you did that. So as I suffered the suicide ideation, I was delivering cars for my brother, going up Route 27 near the Winter Haven area, Bateau, going up 27, and I got more suicide ideation as May, June, July, August, September got heavier, heavier. Now I buy the bottle of vodka. And this is not to trigger anybody. I don't like to get too deep into my suicide attempt
Right.
because
Right. Right.
it's, I just don't like to go there too much. But anyway, I get the booze and the pills, the Tylenol, sits in my trunk for 3 months because I don't want my life, in one way I do, in one way I don't, and my family and my kids, and I'm thinking, Jesus, this is not the way to go. So I'm fighting and I'm fighting it. Now I'm not on any medication. I finally go see a therapist late September, a little bit too late. I
Mm.
should have got to see someone sooner. Got me on a little medication. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to settle in. Try to
Mm.
keep myself safe so I don't go jump or do something drastic. So it got heavy about September, October. That's all I was thinking about 24/7 is how I'm going to end this. And it was a constant suicide ideation. It was hell. It
Right.
was hell.
Right.
Never experienced anything in my life. Now, because I'm tough, you get the balls to do it, right? They
Right.
say it's the chicken way out. Bullshit.
Yeah.
There's nothing chicken about taking your own life.
Well, I have spent a lifetime. I've been literally, 20 some odd years speaking, and I tell everybody when they pull that weak bullshit on me, that
Bullshit.
person, even the person that succeeds, okay, that person was probably the strongest person you'll ever meet because you don't know the years of hell and agony that person went through. They just got caught on the bad side. Suicide is a nanosecond. It's a decision. It's just a split second decision. I came out on the good side. You came out on the good side. I talked to the dude today. He came out on the good side. He even pointed out, he goes, the people in San Francisco jumping off that bridge, there have been survivors who have done it. And every single one of those survivors has said, I knew the moment I let go, I was wrong. But it's too damn late once you take the leap. It's no different
You're
than
talking about Kevin Hines.
Yeah, it's no damn different.
Yeah, Kevin Hines. We correspond together since I've been on 6 years ago. He's been around a lot longer because he jumped in 2000, and he had instant regret. He said, "I love listening to his story. His story's his story. Mine's mine. But his story's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and it's some sensationalism to it, and that's why the media really grabs onto it.
Number one, he's just his job ain't done. Obviously, we know that.
But
no. If he'd have used a gun, if he'd used any other methodology that I tell people, when somebody, it doesn't matter what when they make a big deal about a gun or what, it doesn't matter how you do it. It's you did it. But it's the method doesn't matter. It just matters that you got to that point. And it's a nanosecond because I got a good friend of mine, his brother killed himself. And he used a firearm. And I told him, I said, dude, you don't know. I said, that split second, man, that split second. And I just I got lucky. I got lucky and you got lucky.
I did get lucky. And Kevin Hines. Yeah. And Kevin Hines got lucky, blessed, whatever we want to say about it. He survived, and he's out there making a difference with people. And they're going to put a net under the bridge. He's been advocating with a lot of groups and stuff in the city and the council people. They're going to put a wire mesh under that bridge, where you can't see it in the visual. You can't really see it under the water, above water. But if they jump, they're going to hit the net. Yeah. And I thought it was a fabulous thing.
It's probably a cool idea. Now, I'll play devil's advocate. I think you're going to end up with more people going over there to jump, knowing that they can, I think you're going to end up with a bunch of shit over there. But that's my own.
But I think 3,000 people or 2,800 people have jumped from that bridge since they. That's a lot of people jumping.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Hopefully it's in other bridges in even my area, Massachusetts. I mean, people have jumped from. Yeah. Anytime I hear someone have killed themselves, it pulls at my heart.
I know it, man.
Because I've been there. It hurts me.
Yeah.
because it's going to hurt the family. They've lost a second chance, a third chance,
Yeah.
and I've gotten two chances. The truck accident, I got lucky and blessed, and it was like it wasn't an attempt, but it was like I got lucky and I
Yeah.
got another chance. Then I say to myself in '96, after I went to my attempt and went through it, I said never again.
Right.
But you never can say never with depression because you
Right.
never know.
Right.
And you got to watch out for yourself. So anyway, when I hit that ideation in '96 and it came November, by the end of November, that was it. I was totally hiding. I was secrecy with my brother and family. Wasn't
Right.
saying nothing. I was secret. What hotel? Went into a hotel that day in the
Yeah.
end of November of '96. The pills, the bottle, started writing notes. I remember you told me
Right.
God told you
Right.
to write
Yeah.
a letter, and you wrote for 7 hours and you never did it.
Right.
So
That was
and I
my
love
that
that.
was my that was
Your
my
calling.
second
That was
in
your calling.
time, right? That was my second
Exactly.
in time because God,
And
I tell the story. God
yeah,
said it was okay for me to kill myself, and when I say that to people, they go, "Oh, God would never know." He was pretty smart because he said you just need to leave a note, and then I wrote for 7 hours, and
unbelievable
man, it
story.
was yeah. And had I not listened,
Unbelievable.
had I not listened
Of
that
course.
he said that to me,
Yeah.
then the outcome could be different. We never know,
Of course.
but one thing's
We
for
wouldn't be here.
no, I wouldn't. No, not at all. Hey,
So when I
you
wrote,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
yes.
No,
No,
please.
no. I was going to say, when I wrote the notes, and of course I'm crying, I'm hurting, I'm suffering. I'm in my space is about this big. It's so dark. I can't see anything beyond me. Like, Deepak Chopra said, you're in a psychotic state when you want to kill yourself, whether it's a split moment decision or whether it's ideation for 6 months.
Yeah.
You're in a psychotic state at this point, and you're really not making rational decisions for yourself.
Right.
So I write the notes. I'm sorry my son and my mother and my brother, and I'm ashamed, and ashamed thing's a big thing.
Well,
And
I was just getting ready, man. I was
yeah,
just getting ready to
I
bring.
know it's there.
I was getting ready to
So
bring it
anyway,
up.
so we'll get by the first attempt. So now I said, frigate. It was late at night. I started ingesting in the Tylenol, which is pretty severe, in the alcohol, over 250.
You cut out there, Dan. Up.
50 extra strength, 200 regular. I don't
Say,
recommend.
hey Dan, say that again. You cut out there.
And I started ingesting, and I'm starting to black out, and I'm getting almost all of them down, and I'm getting there. I lay down, figuring that's it. I'm done. I lay down. I wake up 5 hours later. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, whatever.
Oh.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't even do this right. That's as I said to myself.
Son of
and
a
I got,
bitch.
son of a bitch, I can't even do this right. I said, well, maybe if I go back to sleep, I'll be successful.
Right.
Little did I know, and I'll talk about this in a second, but as I got up off the bed, I look in the mirror. I swear to God, the devil had me. I was all green looking. I was green looking, red eyed. It was just horrifying when I looked at myself. I said, let me go lay back down. Maybe I'll finish myself. I lay back down. I wake back up at 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. I'm not dead.
You didn't
for some
get
reason,
dead.
So for some reason, I called my sister about 20 minutes away. And she goes, where are you? We're worried about you. And I'm like, I try to hurt myself. Oh, Danny, what are you doing? And I'm like, she goes, can you get home and get back? We got to come get you. Don't ask me how I drove back to the house.
Jesus,
don't even ask.
Right. Yeah.
I get it. I leave the hotel room, but I want to make a point about the moment before I started taking those pills. Kind of just an okay hotel. I won't name the hotel because it's not good to do, but it was one of those just run of the mill, middle of the road ones. But anyway, it was kind of clean. It was all right. And I get in, and before I started ingesting, I look at the corner of the room, and the corner with the dirt, just a little dirt in the corner. I go, this is it. I'm looking at the corner, going, this is it. This is where you're going to end your life,
right?
In some dingy hotel, half clean, half dirty. It was just that moment. I remember looking in the corner, like if you're looking over a bridge railing or whatever, but just the whole moment coming. Anyway, I drive home, lay on the couch, nobody's there. She's coming back from the hospital. She's a nurse.
Right.
She's coming back from the hospital. Takes one look at me. I'm like green. And she's like, come on.
Yeah.
I go to the hospital. Doctor's like, what did you do?
I told him,
Yeah.
pissed off. I told him, what I ingested. He goes, we're trying to save lives here, and you're trying to take yours, but we're going to try to help you. He says, let me tell you the problem with this, Dan. It does sometimes with adults, Tylenol won't kill you right away.
Right.
And it takes about 48 hours to get through your system. And your organs are probably going to fail from the amount that you've taken. Your levels, we took your blood, your levels are super high. You're probably not going to make it. So I'm dying again, right? So
Right.
You're probably not going to make it. So I'm like, really? I'm like, now I want to live, right?
Right.
So then he goes, he says to me, okay, the 50, the problem is the extra strength's going to get at your liver and all this stuff, but it's going to take a cycle of 48 hours. We don't know where it's going to go, but it doesn't look good for you. Of course, I get a team of people, McCarthy from Vietnam, Dr. Mehta was a guy, Indian doctor for the kidneys. I got a guy that looked like Lurch on the Monsters, that big, doing my liver. All these people, I'm in the IC. So, they come in and they're going to do the IC for the kidney. Oh, they got to take the machine away because suicide attempts come last. So someone's having a problem. They need this one machine. So I'm dying again. Like I can't even get the dialysis. Then they want me to sign papers that you could die by doing the dialysis.
They set your ass up. They're like, hey, we're gonna make this dude remember this shit for the rest of his life.
I'm signing away, like I'm signing my life away every time. Then Lurch comes in. He comes in, big guy, nice guy. He goes, I'm the liver, doctor, and I'm gonna try to get you a transplant. If your liver goes bad, I'm gonna call Gainesville. Calls him up. He comes back in my room 2 hours later. He goes, drug addicts and suicide attempts don't get transplants. Wow. I'm like, are you kidding me? So this is all going downhill for me. Now I'm accomplishing what I wanted. So at the time, I'm a practicing Catholic. I got a priest. I said, give me, the night come into the 2 nights. They're like, your levels are here, they're there, they're there. Now they're up. Things don't look good when the second in. And you better call family. I'm like, I'm not calling my mother right now.
Right.
My brother and wife, I apologize to him all the time. Sorry I brought this to you. He's like, don't worry, you're my brother. It's okay. And so anyway, I'm praying, and I got a Buddhist friend, and she says chant, and I do this Buddhism now, and I really like it and the wisdom. I've been doing it for 14 years, and I'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, I think it's my last rites. That's it. I feel like I'm dying that night. I really felt like I was going to go. All of a sudden, the next morning, 2.5 days later, I got everybody standing over me like the Wizard of Oz. And I'm looking up at them, and I'm all out of it from hallucinating from all the the chemical. I'm like, what the hell's what's going on? They're like, Dan. And so McCarthy starts talking. He goes, we can't believe it. Your levels have come down to like normal.
Wow.
And they're not going up because we've been testing you every 3 hours while you've been out of it.
Right.
And we're testing your blood every 3 hours. He says, now it's at a normal level. If it doesn't come up, it's right there. You're going to maybe be okay.
Right.
You might have some complications in the future. I don't know. I couldn't believe it.
Right.
And they're looking at me like I'm a walking miracle.
Right. That's crazy, man.
Unbelievable.
I'll tell you,
I'll never do it again.
Crazy. It's crazy. I think we talked a little bit yesterday, and I told you, where I stand, and you definitely, your job's not done. There's only one way to explain it a lot of times.
Mission.
Yeah, you have a job to do, you have a mission to do, and the one thing that I really like about what you're doing and how you do it is really mostly because of who you are. And I'll be honest with you, because of how your effectiveness to people, you need to be on military bases. You need to be in police departments. You need to be where guys like you are. That I remember I spoke on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I had this 3-star general come up to me after the show, and he hugged me, but he was crying, and he said, as he was hugging me and he started crying, he said, don't let me go. Don't let them see me do this. He said, what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to go ask for help? Who am I? Here's a 3.
Exactly.
It's like the police department, Danny. You know that these cops are told, go seek help, go do this, but then they lose their gun, they lose their badge, they lose their shit. And, you know, society, we were talking about masculinity. Society, I don't know that masculinity's the problem. I think society's the problem of thinking that a man, no matter who he is, what his background, but a man can't be sad, or a man can't, because I've been doing it to myself for the past 3 years after losing my business, you know, for 15 solid months, and I still have not gotten over it all. I've come a long way, but during the first 15 months, here I am. I've lost my income. I've lost my business. I'm losing my shit. And then you all of a sudden go, well, until a friend of mine said, that's not your worth. Is that your worth? But the problem
Good thing to say.
But the problem is, our worth is that to our friends. Because as soon as they see you falter, they scatter like freaking cockroaches.
You find out who your real friends are.
Or you lose your money and they're gone because Dan's not picking up the tab. Or, you know, you're not, Paul's not buying this. And then that just beats you down even more.
Sure.
And I just love what you're doing and how you're doing it. You know, the stigma kills line in the one, you know, the shame is huge. I love what you said. You know, you can't look back. You know, I hate looking backwards because you can't change a damn thing that happened in the past. Be mindful of the past. Be mindful of it, but don't base your whole life on what you just experienced if it didn't go your way. You know.
Of course. Well, some people look back and they can't get out of the past. You know, the past just lingers.
They live in a rearview mirror. They live in a rearview mirror. It's no wonder they're smacking into walls.
And it lingered for me too. It's the only time I want to look back is what I did to learn. Right. To learn what was happening to me and learn about it. Because after all that happened in '96, you know, I struggled and I said, I'm not going to go back to that, you know, stuff again, and work with my brother for another year. I was really working hard. I'm clean to throw up in a back seat. I'm not doing real estate anymore. I mean, you could have got depressed again and again over this because he had a great business. Don't get me wrong. Nothing to say bad about it, but I went from wearing a suit to cleaning cars. Right. So I stayed in the garage. I didn't want to deal with people. A whole year goes by, I'm on medication, and I recommend it. I know some people say, oh, it made me worse and all that. I got to find the right mix. So I gave up some, I got on some, and, you know, all that was going on and helped me stay a little bit level-headed where I wasn't going to go try to hurt myself again.
Let me share this with you. Let me share this with you, since you just touched medicine on my opinion. Medication saved my life, okay? But my doctor, my doctor saved my life by explaining that pill was going to be 10% of helping me. He made it very clear to me, I'm going to give you the ability to think clearer and make better decisions. This pill is only 10%. He said, you're going to have to change some shit. You're going to have to change what you eat. You're going to have to change how you are because it being
drinking,
drugs, being clinically depressed. You know, you're going to have to do certain things, Paul, to get adjusted. But he made it clear. So I'm not a big proponent of medication for somebody to say, that's all I need. I always tell them, no. that is 10% of what your ass needs, and you better do some research. You better do some research. Yeah. Now, Dan, out of respect for your time, I told you I like to try and keep an hour. We're going to have to. Can I possibly talk you into maybe like a 3 interview series?
That would be great.
Because
I mean, we got like, you know, we got 10
minutes of this story, and you have so much. I mean, we got 50 minutes of the story. We got so much to cover. What I'd like to do for the next 10 is give the people listening I want your view of a guy like you that didn't have any experience with depression, I want you to talk to that guy right now that's suffering just like you. I want, for the next 10 minutes, you tell that guy what he needs to hear.
Well, let me say this. This is for everybody, especially the men. But this is for everybody when it comes to suicide.
No, I understand that. There's those guys.
No, I get what you're saying.
Okay, great.
No, I'm going to address that. But at the same time, this is for everybody what I'm going to say, because we talked about my first attempt in 96. Obviously, I had a second one.
Right.
My daughter almost got killed in a car accident in 2016. We'll talk about that in the next interview. In 2010, where I attempted again. Not as severe, but severe enough I might not be here.
Right.
So I could say this. I've been med-free now since 2011. We'll talk about that more in the next session. Right. The next segment. But anyway, I've been med-free since 2011. The reason why I got on medication, like you said, to keep myself safe, but it is only 10 or 20% of the problem. It's like you can't be drinking, you can't be drugging. You got to watch out your behavior, what you're doing. You got to change your behaviors. I had some behaviors I needed to change, I'll be honest.
Right.
And that helped me get healthier in my mind. So as these things are going on, as I'm suffering and I'm trying to pull myself out of it, not to go back, because even though I had the attempt, I was still suffering from depression.
Right.
And what I started realizing, keep moving with my brother, keep working. But the short list, I said, you know what? I can't do so many things like I used to. And I'll say this for anybody, especially the men, and pull up the strength to have some courage to do something, to get out of bed. I mean, in 2010, I stayed in bed for 8 months. But I'll go back to that when we talk about it. But the short list, I said, you know what, Dan? Like your wife was saying to you got to get up and take a shower. You got to eat. You got to walk your dog. Maybe read a little bit or watch a little TV, then go back in bed and hurt for a little bit. But you better get up and do that short list again and again and again. Right. So I kept that short list in my head, and I really grabbed a hold of it. Yeah. And as I kept doing that short list, whether it was in 96 or 2010, that list started becoming longer and longer and longer. Here I am today, and that short list is very important, that it's not about toughness.
Right.
Because I'm pretty tough. I've won fights, I've lost fights. I'm a tough guy.
Right.
But it's not about toughness.
Right.
It's about your mental health, your brain health, I like to call it.
Right.
Mental puts a stigma that you're mentally off. But brain health, I am now running my real estate business again with 15 people. I'm doing this suicide prevention over 6 years. I wasn't talking like this in 96 and 2010.
Right.
Although I'm a talker, and I'll talk about, my early years, I used to stutter because my dad scared me, and I don't stutter anymore. Right. So my mother used to joke, when she saw my video, she passed in 17, but when she seen my video, she goes, and I would talk to her, she's like, oh, geez, I wish you stutter again. You never shut the F up. So things like that. But now here I am today is living proof and inspiring people. Right. I want to inspire people that it ain't over.
Right.
And even when you're sick, and we'll talk about that as far as my Buddhist practice or God believes, about when you get ill and how you keep your life, whether it's, I'm not going to fault people that do what they do. Right. But at the same time, I want to fight for life, whether you're not recognizing your family or not, they want to still see you. Right. Things like that. But we'll get into that further. But I think the stigma thing and the, Junior Seau from the Patriots was on the Patriots, he shot himself in the chest with 2 beautiful daughters he had. Right. And he was suffering in silence in San Diego. When I hear about it, because I played football for 10 years myself. Yeah. So when I heard about him, it really hit me because I was making my videos back then. And I'm like, wow, toughest guys, the most funniest guys, the most joyful guys, sometimes that's a facade of their suffering.
Well, I mean, almost all the time. You always,
almost all the time.
You never, ever, ever, until my book came out, people would have never, ever guessed. It's always the dude who's smiling. It's always the dude who's carefree. It's always, just went through it again the other day. A friend sharing as a matter of fact, my brother-in-law. One of his friends' brothers killed us. He said, man, he was always the one in the picture smiling, always helping people, always doing this, always doing that. And I said, that's the way it goes, Jack. That's the way it goes. That's why this is so tricky to identify. It's so hard to identify.
And if they don't speak up. If they don't speak up,
if they
then you got a
don't
problem.
speak up, man, you are, and so many people won't go and just reach that hand out, you know, like you and you and I did. I mean, I had no choice. My choice was die or ask for
Go
help.
forward.
And when I finally got to my
and
doctor,
healing.
and that was after my that was after or prior to my thought, when I finally got to him, he said, "Where in the hell have you been? You know, like, why'd you wait?" And I sat in my car in his parking lot and just cried my ass off. He said, "Paul, I can fix this." I just thought I was crazy. I thought I was crazy.
Well, because you think that,
yeah.
And that's why they call it mental illness, but it's really your brain health suffering. There's nothing mental about a person. And I hate the word in general, even if you got a deficiency from birth. I just don't like the word mental.
Yeah.
It puts a stigma on people. Right. Even Kevin Hines has been talking about, like, let's get rid of that word mental. Let's call it brain.
Yeah.
But in the end of what you're talking about the men and reaching out for help, like on my second attempt, I knew quicker to look at my wife and go, I'm suffering with suicide ideation again. I need help.
Right.
I need help. I told her.
Yeah.
I'm getting in a position where I can't control it anymore.
Yeah.
Or what was going on with me? Now I haven't got there again. You know, I had some stuff happen with my daughter in 07, my stepdaughter, and then in 16, a divorce. Yeah. And my doctor says to me, "Why aren't you going down that road again, Dan?"
Right.
I'm like, "Because I learned."
Yeah.
I learned all about it. I mean, I wrote a 33-page program in 2000 at Bunker Hill where I met my third wife, and we were doing our thing. And I wrote that program. I raised 3 stepkids, but I never got it off the ground. By the time 16 came, I'm like, I got to overcome this shame and guilt and this stigma. It really dogged me for a long time.
Right.
I mean, for a guy that I am, I think, oh, you're going to get out there and be another Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
You're not going to be that.
Yeah.
Like now you got to really push to make that first video, Dan. Because once you do it, you'll be taken off after that. So it's to never give up.
Yeah.
You never give up.
Well, one thing's for sure, man. If people just understood, and I have to always include myself because I still go through my time is, my bed was always my safe haven. It still is today. You know, I'll hide, when I need to. Everything that's happening to me in recent years has all been situational. So you try to change that. I try to come to that's how the music started. That's why it's here. I come here, I try to do something every day. I want to write a song every day. I want to write an idea every day. Because we all know that work is going to keep you busy. It's going to keep you going. It's like your short list. My short list is get my ass up, come to the office, that kind of thing.
And it gets to be, and it gets to be a longer list, right?
Yeah.
It gets to be a longer list, but it's okay to back off and rest. It's okay to back off and say, okay, I know who I am. I got to rest now. I got to take it easy today, because you never know. You could get burnt out again. So you got to be careful and have some balance. But, you're creating value. I have a video about creating value. Instead of suicide, instead of being bitter about your past and where you've been and what you lost, how about you as an individual value yourself and create value?
Right.
And then my Buddhist practice helped me a lot with that.
Right.
As far as creating value and practicing 14 years now.
Well,
it's all to me God's energy.
The one thing, and then we're gonna have to we'll reschedule. We got to because there's so much to go through.
No, I agree.
But the one thing you say you have to be okay. You have to be okay with me. You got to be okay with me. Exactly. You have to love yourself. You say. And you really do. You have to respect.
Big hugs. You gotta hug yourself.
Right. You have to respect who you are and what you're doing, and set aside. Because, like you said, it's one thing to care about other people, but when you all of a sudden don't even care about yourself, you can't care about shit. You're not. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to take care of anything.
As with family,
I love it, man.
We don't want to leave them behind, but we got to care about ourselves first. How the hell can we care about anybody?
Yeah. Well, Dan Pelly, and I hate to do this, I do, but I like to. You know as well as I do. Most people will have the attention span of a gnat. We have found that an hour is a sweet spot. What I'd like to do, I want to build upon this, and I'm going to have our people, listen to it and watch it. Then they'll know the second time you come on. They may have questions. We'll open
Sure.
up. We'll even open up the Zoom
go
for maybe
live.
4 or 5
Yeah,
people
we'll go
to join us if they have questions.
I agree.
Things like that. But man, I can't thank you enough. I've been talking to hell. I haven't taken a break. I haven't played a song. I am but I am taking us out of here, Dan. I don't know if you've listened to our new song that we released called "I Am a Warrior." And I had that. I've got that queued up as when we exit.
Nice.
I'm going to go ahead and spin it, and then I'll say goodbye to you. But I've been talking to Dan Pelly, and he is the Suicide Warrior. If you go to YouTube, you'll be able to catch his stuff. Dan, you got a website, or are you primarily just using YouTube?
All internet. Any way you can find me.
Okay, I'm going to have
YouTube,
Dan send me.
Facebook.
What's your website address?
Well, I don't have the website, but I got. I'm
You're on
just mostly
Facebook. You're on all the.
Yeah, I'm all
stuff.
social
Okay.
media because
All
I
right.
figure if I can touch one
I got you.
person,
I got
I'm
you.
out there. You know.
Okay, so I'm going to spin "I Am a Warrior" in honor of my new buddy Dan Pelly.
Nice.
And Dan, hang in there a second. I'm going to spin this, but I'll once I click us off, we'll say goodbye and go from there. Okay. So
Sounds
here you go,
good.
folks. It's been Paul live on Bootleggers Radio, coming to you live from the studios next to Ron's Roost and the Close Steak and Shake. And here is "I Am a Warrior." Dan Pelly, you damn well are.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.